Hello and welcome to the Django DRF API Query Fundamentals course. My name is Xander. Now this tutorial is part of a whole course playlist available for free on YouTube. For deeper learning, the full course is available for purchase at Udemy. Find all of these resources and links in the video description. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for weekly promotions, discounts, and Udemy course giveaways. Now, you may be interested to know that in this course we are using Ruff, which is an ultra-fast Python linter and formatter. It was designed to replace tools such as Flake8, PyLint, Black, iSort, and many more. It's an all-in-one package. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to set up Ruff and configure it in Visual Studio Code. Now, you may not be familiar with the concepts of linting and formatting. So when working with code, linting and formatting help keep your code clean, readable, and error-free. So linting is the process of analyzing your code for errors. So Ruff, the program that we're going to use for linting, is going to be working behind the scenes to analyze your code for errors, bad practices, and style violations. It's going to help us identify any syntax errors, unused variables or imports, code that doesn't follow maybe best practices, and help us identify any potential bugs. So that's going to be super handy. Now Ruff is, like I mentioned, an all-in-one tool. So it does also provide formatting, which means that it will automatically adjust our code style and spaces. It will help us auto-fix any layout issues and indentation and line breaks in our code. Ultimately, it's going to make our code look consistent. So formatting in general is about automatically adjusting the style of our code. Right, so first off, let's make sure that you have Ruff installed. So if you haven't, then just type in Ruff into the Extensions Marketplace search bar here, and that should then help you find Ruff. I have it already installed, but you can go ahead and install that first. So this is going to provide linting and formatting as we write code within our project. Once Ruff has been installed, you can configure it further. Now we're going to create a project level setting so that we can define settings specifically for our project. So I'm going to open up a new project folder here, and I'm going to call this VSCode. Now inside of this folder, .VSCode, so it needs to be called .VSCode, apologies. And then inside of here, we're going to create a new file called settings.json. Now, what's going to happen is that Visual Studio Code is, when it opens up the project, it's going to look for this folder. It's going to find these settings, and it's going to apply these settings for the project that we've just opened. So this is project level settings that we can define. Now, like I maybe alluded to, we can also define these directly in settings, but we're going to apply this at this project level so that we can set different settings for different projects. So I'll go ahead and apply these settings. Now, what I want to do is set up Ruff for Python. So first of all, I define the fact that I want these settings to be applied to Python code. So Visual Studio Code does automatically detect the language that you're using in the files that you open or modules that you open. So we're able to set settings per programming language. So what we want is for our code to be automatically formatted via our Ruff formatter. And we want that to automatically happen whenever we save. So that's what we're going to set first. Editor.format and save true. Now that can also be configured in settings. We're going to do this here on this project at this project level. Right, so that's now defined. We'll go ahead and set editor.code actions on save. Again, that runs any specific auto fixes actions on save that have been defined by Ruff. And now we go ahead and delve a little bit deeper here, and we're going to define our code action, or the first code action, as source.fixel explicit. So if we do have any, for example, Python imports that we're not using in that module, it will tidy that up for us. Then we can define organize imports. So Ruff will also organize our Python imports. So it will, again, set them to an order, for example, internal imports, external imports. So the different types of imports, it generally just tidies them up to make it easier and more consistent throughout your whole application. Now we also need to define the fact that the Ruff editor is the tool we want to use as our default formatter for Python. So we define that, and then we go ahead and set the editor.rules to 88. So this is going to add a vertical ruler at 88 characters, and this is going to be the default line length for Ruff and our application. So that's how we're going to activate and utilize Ruff throughout our project. That's how we've defined it and activated it here in Visual Studio Code. Now you can find that source code as a download connected to this tutorial, and you may also find it in the source code connected to individual modules in this course. Like I alluded to earlier, it is completely optional whether you use the linter and formatter tool, but it can be handy to make your code more consistent. It just works in the background. You don't need to touch or do anything else at that point, and it will generally be more of a benefit than a hindrance as you develop your code.